A live look at the White House right now. We are waiting for this to happen. President Trump is set to speak at a Mother's Day event in the Rose Garden. He could, of course, speak on the conflict in Iran. As we have been told, today could have some movement in it. No promises, but we're covering it. U.S. military strikes inside that country for the first time since the ceasefire began more than a month ago. CENTCOM released this video showing our forces disabling 2 Iranian-flagged tankers. They were trying to evade the U.S. blockade of Iranian ports, which is crippling that radical Islamic country's economy. We know it. It's crushing them. More strikes on Iran yesterday, and military officials say it was a defensive move after Iran fired on 3 U.S. warships near the Strait of Hormuz. And you can see all of the U.S. naval assets in the area. They have not moved. They are still there. U.S. forces intercepted those attacks and hit the military sites they came from. The president said it was just a love tap, his words, and that the ceasefire still stands. He also says negotiations with the regime continue on the U.S. peace proposal. Earlier this week, the regime fired more than a dozen missiles at the UAE's main oil exporting port. Saudi Arabia, Kuwait briefly blocked U.S. forces from using the important bases and airspace for Project Freedom. Why? Because they didn't understand how getting hit by Iran didn't break the ceasefire. So they wanted to block us from doing what we had to do in their airspace, but then President Trump reportedly managed to change their minds. Here's General Jack Keane.
General, you're all for restarting Operation Freedom, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. In my judgment, I think we got to see reality for what it is. We should go back and execute Project Freedom, take the Strait of Hormuz away from the Iranians, secure it and open it for navigation, and also at some point get some assistance in doing that. And then we have to unleash the Israelis.
Retired Lieutenant General Keith Kellogg is with me in just a moment. Let's first go to Chief National Security Correspondent Jennifer Griffin. Jennifer.
Harris, we now know that it was one F-18 Super Hornet that struck the 2 empty oil tankers trying to break the blockade. As you just showed, CENTCOM released this video of the MT Sea Star 3 and MT Sevda being struck and now on fire in the Gulf of Oman. They were hit before they could reach Iranian ports. Secretary of State Marco Rubio spoke to reporters in Rome and said the U.S. won't allow Iran to control or tax ships going through the Strait of Hormuz.
We've seen the reporting overnight that Iran has established or trying to establish some agency that's going to control traffic in the straits. That would be very problematic. That would actually be unacceptable.
On Thursday, 3 guided missile destroyers, the USS Truxtun, USS Rafael Peralta, and USS Mason, were transiting the Strait of Hormuz south into the Gulf of Oman when they came under attack from Iranian missiles and drones. CENTCOM says none of the U.S. warships were hit, but they had to take evasive measures and shoot down the incoming threats. In response, the U.S. struck a port on Iran's Qeshm Island and military targets in Bandar Abbas, another port city crucial to Iran's oil export economy. The airstrikes targeted missile launchers as well as Iran's Bandar Kargan naval checkpoint in Manab.
Of course we fired back at them. They were shooting at us. That's what I would expect to do. Only stupid countries don't shoot back when you're shot at, and we're not a stupid country.
The strikes on Iranian territory came 3 days after Iran fired 15 ballistic and cruise missiles at UAE Fujairah port on Monday, eliciting anger from Gulf countries after Secretary Hegseth and General Dan Kane said in a Pentagon press briefing Tuesday that the attack did not rise to the level of breaking the ceasefire, which angered Gulf partners, causing them to temporarily halt permission for U.S. warplanes to use Saudi and Kuwaiti airspace, a decision that was later reversed. CENTCOM says it is currently blocking, Harris, 70 tankers trying to enter or leave Iranian ports. These vessels, if allowed to leave, can carry 166 million barrels of oil worth more than $13 billion. Harris?
Yeah, and to further your point, a couple of these are in that category of very large vessels, and they're empty, which is why they can reach numbers like what you just told us, how much oil they can carry. So they want to get it out there, fill it up. Yeah, they're hurting. Jennifer, thank you very much. In focus now, Lieutenant General Keith Kellogg, former special envoy to Ukraine and Russia and American Security co-chair for for the America First Policy Institute. Good to see you today, General. Look, let's start with two things. I don't know how much patience that those neighbors can have around Iran now. They got upset because they thought, well, if you're firing on the U.S. is firing back. Doesn't that break the ceasefire? What's keeping them from now not hitting Iran? Because if that happens, we got a mess on our hands.
Yeah, Harris, it's good to be with you. Thank you for having me. Look, you know, the only reasonable guy in this whole mess is Donald Trump. And he's the only guy that's had the guts in 8 presidents, 4 Republican, 4 Democrat, to do something. But we need to look through what the Iranians are doing right now. They are following their plan called Mosaic, which is their defensive plan on a decentralization of their Revolutionary Guards. So we don't know really who's in charge. We do know that Arachi, who's their foreign minister, he went to China recently. He's their lead in negotiations. He's got a no-fire zone around him. We've said we're not going to take him out initially. At least we have somebody reasonable to talk to. But he wrote a book in 2024 about the power of negotiation. And his parents were rug merchants. And you have to, if you've ever bought a rug in a bazaar, you kind of understand the bartering that goes back and forth. I don't trust him. I don't think anybody should trust him. I don't think the president should trust anything the Iranians say. And I think that what the UAE is doing, and the Saudis are going to say, and the Bahrainis are going to say, you can't trust these guys. They've lied to you before, they're going to lie to you again. And Arachi, their foreign minister, he's an expert at that. He was the original leader in the Iranian nuclear power work a decade ago, and he's now their foreign minister. He's smart about it. There's options. We do have options. The president has options. He can ramp up the pressure, not so much the military pressure going against certain targets, because then you're going to harm the Iranian people.
Isn't that the end of the ceasefire then? Excuse me, General, but I want to jump in there. Yeah. Wouldn't that end the ceasefire? And General Jack Keane is also calling for taking the very important oil hub, if you will. I'm sure there's a better word than hub for Iran, Karg Island.
Yeah. I've said that before. I'm not the first person to say it. Well, maybe I am the first person to say it. And there's options that you can do something like that and put the options on our side, not on their side, and just make them go to a point where they've got no option economically. You've got people like the National Council for the Resistance of Iran, led by Mariam Rajavi. You have options. You don't. I'm not talking about the Prince Pahlavi or people like that, but there's options to do this. I think we're reaching a point, instead of incrementalism, Harris, that we need to go in and put everything on their side. This is what we're going to do. We're going to break your back. This does not mean we invade Tehran, or we go into Iran and basically do a ground operation. That would be foolish, and the president knows that. He's smart enough, his advisors know that, but you got to make sure that we're not getting played by Arachi, their foreign minister, because he will try to play us.
And the longer this goes, I mean, the American people are watching this. The markets are resilient, but you know what happens on Wall Street sometimes doesn't exactly reflect what happens on Main Street, where people live that are not wealthy. So then the question becomes, how much patience do the people of America have? And it's now at a point where you're saying the game might be a little bit longer. What I hear you, and I want to give you the last word. So, you know, we're waiting day by day. Do we just wait this out? You're saying no, but then what do we do and when?
Yeah, and great kudos to the president. He's got the guts to do what he's done. He's had a good policy to do it. But if you want to shortchange it, you take away, let's just use Karg Island. The reason they're saying that is 90% of their income comes through Karg Island.
Well, there you go.
You basically starve them out economically. And that's what you do in the near term, not the long term. And you accept risk. And what I mean by that, they say, well, you're going to put troops in danger. Of course you are. They call that a war. This is a war. And I would say accept the risk, do it, just isolate what they're doing in the future, and let's see what happens from there. You basically break their back.
General Kellogg, that was, I wrote that down. Accept the risk. We're already at war. Good to see you, sir. Thank you. Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube, and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.